Okay, hey guys, we're going to do lesson 5. Keep in mind that the first part of lesson 5 we'll have done in class during our Google Meet. So we're on this question number 12 for the video, and it's how to graph a line given the equation of a line. So let me write down here, the equation of a line, if you remember, is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so the m is the slope of the line, and this number here, including that sign, is the y-intercept of the line. So if we go take a look at this equation, the slope is the number in front of the x, the coefficient of x, and that number is 1/3. And the y-intercept is that last number, including the sign, which is a negative, -2. Now, if we want to graph a line using this information, what we do is on the y-axis here, we're going to look for the y-intercept, -2. So you'll see like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is -1, -2, -3, -4. So -2 is going to be right over here. That's the y-intercept. That's going to be 1 point on the line. So this last number, find it on the y-axis and make a dot there. That's going to be 1 point on the line. Now, the slope is 1/3 in this case. So we went over slope in class. Slope is rise over run. So we have the number 1/3. That means we're going to rise 1 unit and run 3 units. So from the point you had made, the y-intercept point, you're going to rise 1 unit. That top number is the rise number. And you're going to run to the right, always to the right, 3 units. 1, 2, 3. That's another point on the line. And then we can do it again. Rise 1, run 1, 2, 3 units. And you could actually you could follow it backwards. When you do a rise over run, and the rise is positive, you would go up and to the right. But if you go down, then you would actually do everything reverse. So if you're going down 1, you would go 3 to the left, and you'll notice that this point is also in the same straight line as the other 3 points. So that will be fine. That's going to make your line, and you can actually connect all those points with a straight line. You can continue it and put an arrows on each end. And this is the equation, this is the line whose equation is, and we like to write the equation next to it, y equals 1/3 x minus 2. So this line here has this equation. All right, let's try the next problem. So we have y equals -2x plus 1. So the number in front of the x, that's your slope. It's going to be -2, and we can make it into a fraction by putting it over 1. You can make any whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1. And this number by itself out here, that's the y-intercept, +1. So just like before, we're going to find the y-intercept on the y-axis at +1. This is 0, that's +1. We'll put a dot there, a point. And now we're going to follow this. So let me do the slope over here. Remember, rise over run is your slope. That's the m value. In this case, it's -2 over 1. Now, what we should do is we should always do the run first. Here, the run is positive, so that means go to the right 1 unit. And the top number is the rise. But if it's negative, you're going to do the opposite of rise. Opposite of rise is fall. So you're going to run 1, the bottom number, and you're going to fall 2 units because you're going down 2 units, 1, 2. And you can continue to do that. You can make a few more points like that. Run 1, go down 2. Run 1, go down 2. And if we go back to our original point, we could follow this pattern backwards. So instead of running and falling, we could go backwards and up. So that would be following the pattern in reverse. So to the left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2. This is going to be the graph of this equation. I'm going to graph this line now. And we like to label the line with the equation, y equals -2x plus 1. Okay? So that's how we graph a line using the equation, and it's good to know how to use the y-intercept and the slope to do so. So we're going to do a couple of more of these, but there's going to be one difference. Let's take a look what it is. Okay, we're going to graph 2 equals x minus y. So the issue here is that y is not by itself. Coming back to what we were looking at before, y equals mx plus b, we were able to graph these lines because y was by itself, then the equal sign, then the slope and the x, the variable x, and then a number by itself. So we're going to try to get this equation where y is by itself. So one thing I like to do is, since there's a negative y here, if I put plus y on both sides, at least that way now, y is positive, but y is not entirely by itself. There's a plus 2 there, so we can subtract 2 from both sides, and we get y equals x minus 2. And now we could talk about the slope and the y-intercept. So what do you think the number is in front of the x here? I don't see anything. If you don't see a number there, it's automatically 1. All right, so anytime there's no coefficient, no number in front of the x, it's automatically going to be 1. If we want to make that into a fraction, we can put it over 1. So the slope is 1 over 1. And that number is the y-intercept, negative 2. So going to the y-axis, going to negative 2, find it. Okay, we'll put a dot there, negative 2. And then the slope, remember, is rise on top over run on the bottom. So we're going to be running 1 unit. Run to the right is 1 unit. Rise 1 unit. Or you could do rise over run. Well, I like to do the run first. So run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1. And we can make lots of points, and we can follow this pattern backwards. And here is the graph of that equation. And again, we try to label the equation with the line with the original equation. This is 2 equals x minus y. This is the line 2 equals x minus y. All right, we have a similar issue over here. Y is not by itself. So let's take a look. 3x equals negative y plus 7. I don't like the y being negative, so the first thing we could do is add y to both sides. Y plus 3x equals 7. Then we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. Now, these are not like terms. Well, this will cancel out, y equals. These are not like terms, but we like to, so we can't combine them, but we like to put the x part first. So it's going to be a negative 3x, and then it's a plus 7. So what do you think the y-intercept is? It's going to be that number there. The slope is going to be negative 3. We can make that into a fraction by putting it over 1. So the y-intercept is 7, which is all the way up here, actually. That's y equals 7 right there. Now our slope is negative 3 over 1, which means we're going to run 1, and we're going to rise negative 3, which means go down 3 units. Run 1, go down 3 units. Run 1, go down 3 units. I'll do it one more time. Run 1, go down 3 units. And this, and you should use a ruler really to make a straight line. And we like to label our line with the original equation, which is 3x equals negative y plus 7. Okay, so that's how we graph the equation of a line without a calculator. The key thing is that you got to make sure the equation isn't in this form, but that you rearrange it so that y is by itself. And when y is by itself, then you can graph the points. All right, now we're going to take a look at other types of graphs. The graphs that we did of lines were what we call oblique lines, lines that were slanted, either slanted up or slanted down. Now, slanted up lines have a positive slope. The coefficient of x is a positive number. It goes up from left to right. And when the coefficient of x is a negative number, here it's negative 3x, it's going to go down. See, from left to right, it's actually decreasing. What's true about the slope of a horizontal line? What if a line is going straight across? Well, the rise would be 0. The run could be any number, actually. Let's pick any number we want. Let's say 7. But no matter what number is in the denominator, 0 divided by a number is still 0. So the slope of every horizontal line is going to be 0, okay? Now what about vertical lines? Let's take a look at a rise and a run, rise over run for a vertical line. Well, a vertical line, a line going straight up and down, the run would be nothing. And the rise can be any number, let's say 7 again. Now you might say, oh, 7 is divided by 0, that's 0. That's not true. Basically, this is saying how many times does 0 go into 7? Well, 0 cannot go into 7 because 0 doesn't have any power at all to make that movement. So we actually say a number that's divided by 0 is undefined. If you actually take a calculator and you try to divide any number, let's say 7, by 0, look what it says. It says error, divide by 0. So it's not allowing us to divide by 0. We could do 0 divided by 7. That's going to give us 0. But any number, let's say 83, divided by 0, that's going to give us the error. Okay, error. So the fact is you cannot divide by divide by 0. And so this is not really a number. What we say is this slope is undefined. Another thing you could say is there is no slope. You know, slope is something that, you know, you can either climb up or go down or walk across, but you really can't do anything on a vertical line. You can't walk on it, you can't ski down it, you can't climb it like, you know, as if you were climbing a mountain. It's just straight up and down. You can't put your feet on it. So we say it's either it has a slope that's undefined or it has no slope. So let's make a summary. This is an example of a positive slope. You see the slope here is +1. So a slope that has, if you have a positive slope, the line is going to go from left to right, but it's going to increase. A negative slope, as you go from left to right, you're going to be decreasing. A 0 slope means a flat horizontal line, and no slope or undefined slope is going to be a perfectly vertical line. So you should know each of these types of lines and what the type of slope you get. Positive, negative, 0, the actual numerical value of 0, and no slope for a vertical line. Okay, so now we're going to practice graphing lines that have no slope or lines that have 0 slope. So here's the equation, y equals 5. Now normally the equation is y equals mx plus b. But this is only a number, like a y-intercept. So that's like this number on this side. And the slope, well, there is going to be no value for the slope, so 0x. So we get y equals 0x plus 5. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Y-intercept is 5. That's right here. Slope is 0. We can make that into a fraction by putting this over 1. So that means run 1, rise 0. Run 1, rise 0. Run 1, rise 0. So you can see what's happening. You're getting a perfectly horizontal line when you have y equals a constant, just a number, y equals 5. Perfectly horizontal line, okay? So let's just take a look. I'm going to graph this for you on the calculator. If I put y, let me just get rid of this, y equals 5, and I go to, see, it's just a horizontal line at y-intercept of 5, just like we graphed it over here, okay? So anyway, we actually saw it, so we knew that it's going to be a horizontal line, okay? We know that the y-intercept is going to be 5, okay? Let's take a look at this one, x equals 5. Now, I want you to notice that x equals 5, this equation, is not in this form at all, because this has an equation y equals, not x equals. So I want you to think about it this way. This is going to be a case where the slope is undefined. And remember we said when slope is undefined, we should get a vertical line. Let's see what this means and why it would be a vertical line. This is saying x is 5. X is always 5, no matter what y is. So let's go over here. X is 5. This is the x-axis. Now, how about when y is 1? Well, x is still going to be 5, because x is not dependent at all on y. So whatever value y is, x will still be 5. And what about x when y is 5? Well, x will still be 5. How about when y is negative 2? X is still 5. All these values are going to be values where x is 5. So x equals a number is always going to be a vertical line. Y equals a number is always going to be a horizontal line. The key is when y equals 5, or when y is equal to a number, the slope is going to be 0. It's going to be a flat horizontal line. When x equals a number, the slope is going to be undefined. You're going to get a vertical line, and you just have to do what the x-intercept is. X equals 5, x equals 5 here, make a vertical line straight down through 5. Okay? Okay, so now I'd like you to try to graph these. Graph y equals negative 1. Think about what that might look like. Pause the video and try to graph it, and try to do the same thing for x equals 4. So please pause the video, try it, and then unpause the video after, and you can see what I've done. Y equals 1 is going to be a horizontal line this way. And don't forget, remember, y equals 1. If we did y equals mx plus b, it'd be y equals 0x plus, or in this case, plus negative 1. Y-intercept is negative 1. Slope is 0, so you're going to get a horizontal line like this, y equals negative 1. X equals 4. Here, the slope is undefined. We know that that means you're going to get a vertical line. The x-intercept is going to be positive 4. You're going to get a line going like this, straight up and down. This is going to be the line x equals 4 vertical line. Okay, so here's a summary. The equation of a horizontal line is always going to be y equals some number, okay, where that number is the y-intercept, like the b value when we have y equals mx plus b. And the slope of a horizontal line is going to be 0. So this is for any horizontal line. Y equals whatever the y-intercept is. Okay, vertical lines. The equation of a vertical line is going to be x equals some number. And this is going to be the x-intercept. Now, the slope of a vertical line doesn't have a slope, so we could say it has no slope. Another thing we could say, it's undefined. Okay, at this point, you should be good to do your homework. Okay, till next time.